You don't have to do this. It's too dangerous. Hawks grabbed you by the shoulder. His golden eyes gazed right at you. Those normally relaxed brows knitted tightly together as his grip on your shoulder tightened. I'll go talk to the higher-ups for you. They can't let you do this. This is what I trained to do, Keigo. I have to do this. He gently brushed his hand off your shoulder, holding it in yours. His hand was much bigger and rougher, reminding you just how hard he trains and how serious he is about this whole hero thing. No, you don't. They can't force you to do this. He took his hand out of yours so he could take yours in his, grabbing both your hands and holding them close to his chest. Please, don't do this. There were no words to describe the amount of pain you felt when you looked into his eyes. You knew just how much he needed you, how much you needed each other. Ever since he was taken in by the Hero Commission, all you had were each other. While he was told to forget his real identity, you always secretly called him by his real name. Because, despite his dreaded past, he didn't want to forget who he was. You didn't have a real name. You can't even remember who your parents were. From the beginning of your memory, you always have been a part of the Hero Commission. Your codename was 89, but Hawks gave you a cute nickname. He called you Nugget. Your lips quivered, words stuck at the back of your throat for the longest time. You desperately tried to hold back the tears as you managed to whisper, I have to. He shook his head at you, but you slid your hands out of his. You couldn't bear the look in his eyes as you turned around and left. You did your best to tune out his desperate cries, calling out your name and begging you not to go. However, you still left. That day went on to haunt you in your dreams every night for the next 6 years you were apart from him. Now, age 21, you sat with the League of Villains, drinking straight out of a whiskey bottle you picked up on the street as you pretended to be just as upset as the others were about your old hideout getting found by the heroes. On the inside, you knew exactly who sold out the location to the heroes. You. You were the spy. You've been hanging with the bad guys, roaming around the street as a villain since the age of 15. You robbed a bank, beat up heroes, and even committed arson. But you got away with all of it. Everyone thinks it's because you're naturally good at escaping, when only you knew that the Hero Commission would never actually arrest you because everything you did was for this day. It was easy for you to slide into the League with your reputation as a baddie out there. You were a great spy. No one suspected you. Not even your boyfriend Dabi. Stop drinking. It's bad for your body. Dabi snatched the whiskey bottle away from you. No, you whined as you reached for the bottle. It's mine. You could definitely hold your alcohol, and you were careful with how much you consumed, though you knew that even if you got dead as wasted, you wouldn't slip up on your secret identity. That was how good of a spy you were, and why the Hero Commission chose you for this special mission. You feigned tipsy, however, and leaned over the lap of your raven-haired lover as he held the bottle high in the air out of your reach. You pouted at him. Meanie. He smirked at you, loving when you were like this. He kissed you on the forehead as he pulled you against him. Later, okay? He whispered lovingly. He was only like this, with you. Dabi was one of the first villains you met when you started hanging out on the streets, posing as a delinquent. He was a few years older than you, and maybe he saw something in you that reminded him of himself, but he took you in. You didn't have a place to sleep at the time, so he let you crash with him in that shabby abandoned apartment he found. It wasn't much, but it was good enough for the two of you. You knew it was wrong to fall in love with a villain, especially as a spy for the government, but you did. You knew he was a murderer, a villain, but he always puts you first. When you recall all those nights of tender kisses and soft sweet whispers, you could only wish you weren't secretly a government's dog. Sometimes you wish you really were just a villain, a bad person like you said you were, but there was always a side of you that haunted your conscience. There was a boy in your memories that always reminded you of your identity, and always made those sweet tender kisses turn bitter. You would always recall a certain boy who used to sleep with his action figure of a certain flame hero. You would see him everywhere you go, on TV, on t-shirts and backpacks. He was a constant reminder of what you could have been and what you are. He had a special place in your heart, so special that every time you're having sex with Dabi, there would always be a hint of pain in your chest. Dabi doesn't know about him, and he never will. Or so you thought. To say you were shocked to see him was an understatement. You were absolutely devastated, and you can tell there was just as much going on in his head as you when your eyes met. I'm not gonna bring you to the league yet, but for now, you can meet this one. They're also with the league. Dabi said to Hawks as he pointed at you. Hawks's eyes said everything. However, just like him, you had to keep a straight face. You forced a genuine smile on your face, the cunning one you would always show to other villains out there. You walked up to him and introduced yourself. I'm Haku. Nice to meet ya. Haku is your alias, your fake identity as a villain. The commission chose the name because it was a combination of Hachi and Ku, straight out of the numbers 8 and 9. When Hawks heard your name, he felt a pain in his chest. Even all the way here with the League of Villains, you weren't able to escape the control of the commission. Your codename was a constant reminder. The name's Hawks. Hawks tried to act natural, but he wasn't as good as you were at keeping emotions hidden. Dabi quickly noticed the strange look Hawks was giving you, and he placed a hand around your waist protectively. Something wrong? Dabi asked. You quickly smiled at him before he could suspect anything. Maybe he was just charmed by my good looks, you joked. Dabi didn't smile back. He just gazed at Hawks, who was staring at you. Hawks chuckled awkwardly at your words, scratching his cheek with his index finger as he admitted, Yeah, you're beautiful. Your face flushed into a deep crimson as you internally begged him not to say any more. Hawks, however, couldn't help it. It's been 6 years since he last saw you, and you really changed. You were taller, more mature, and overall just sexier than he remembered. The look in your eyes changed, but that was to be expected after all these years of living on the streets. He can only imagine the hardships you had to go through, but it still pained him to see that glistening light in your eyes gone. You used to look up in the night sky and tell him what kind of hero you wanted to become, and he would do the same. Now, the two of you stood face to face, looking down, both working with villains. How ironic. You felt Dabi's grip on your waist tightened, and you quickly mustered out a polite chuckle as he said, Aw, you're such a sweetheart. Come on, babe, let's go. You didn't know that every word you said was like a dagger stabbing right into Hawks' chest. You just wanted to get out of there. For some reason, you couldn't look Hawks in the eyes, as if you were ashamed of yourself, which you probably were. All these years, you were on the verge of going crazy. You forced yourself to play the bad guy, to be someone you didn't want to be. Ironically, the only person who was there to comfort you in the middle of night when you were on the verge of breaking down was this villain next to you. That was probably no excuse for you to fall in love with him, but you couldn't help but seek him out in the middle of night, throw yourself in his warm embrace as he calmed your nerves. Hawks would never understand what you had to go through for the sake of their so-called greater good. He seems to know you, Dabi said once the two of you were away from Hawks. You chuckled. That's ridiculous. You tried to sound as natural as possible. I mean, he's the number 2 hero. I'm just a street rat. There's no way he'd know me. You also seem to know him. You felt sweat building up at the small of your back. Well, isn't it obvious? He's everywhere. I would be living under a rock if I didn't know him. You ended on a soft chuckle, but on the inside, you were a mess. For the first time in your life, your eyes faltered, and Dabi saw it. He never let a single detail pass by. He slammed you against the wall and grabbed you by both wrists, pinning them above your head. Tell me the truth, he hissed. What truth? You asked. You know him. Yes, I just told you, you replied, brows furrowing. Now let me go, Dabi. You tried to tug your hands out of his grip, but he was significantly stronger than you. Dabi leaned his face close to yours, his hot breath tickling your nose as his lips brushed against yours. Truth. Now. That was an order. You hated how smart he was. You hated how you could never be honest with him. I happened to have gone to the same middle school as him. You know, when I still went, you began. That wasn't a complete lie. You did in fact go to middle school with Hawks. The two of you went to school at day and trained at the commission after school was over. And the fact that you dropped out of middle school was also true. The key to lying was mixing truth with it. We did see each other pretty often, though we never talked much, but I'm guessing he recognized me. Oh, so he recognizes you even after all these years, huh? Dabi scoffed. His lips grazed against yours over and over again, and you wish he would just hurry up and kiss you. But he continued to taunt you as he chuckled. He must really like you. I doubt it. I was a nobody. If that really was the case, I'd be honored. You replied with a sly smile. Dabi finally pressed his lips against yours forcefully, sliding his tongue inside as he slowly started grinding onto your body. Ow, you thought as he bit on your bottom lip. Dabi pinned both wrists together with one hand and the other snaking up your shirt. Dabi, not here, you pleaded. This is what you get for flirting with other men, you slut, he whispered as he tugged at the edge of your pants. You were silenced by his lips as he undressed you here in the abandoned building. You didn't fight back because you too were sexually deprived. You thought Hawks had already left, so you let Dabi take you right here. However, Hawks hadn't left. He was not far from where you and Dabi were, and he could hear every sound you made. The soft whimpers of pain and the screams of pleasure. Each sound you made was like a knife wound to his chest. How he wished that the person pinning you to the wall was him. How he wished the person penetrating you was him. If only he had stopped you back then maybe now it would be him who had you in his arms. You two would be in a shared apartment, in a bed together, and it would be his name that you cry out, not Dabi's.